and welcome into Making Sense. You've heard the adage, time flies when you're having a good time. Well, guess what? 2017 is almost in the books, as they say, but having a good time might mean maybe you got a little bit more money you can spend, or maybe you're not paying as much in taxes. So to give us a look at how we should end the year in a positive way, we brought in our expert, Brandt McDonald, McDonald Hagen Wealth Management. Next year, 18, will be the 20th year that your existence on your own.
Of our independent company.
Independent company, and you've been in the business for 28 years.
That's
so,
right.
you know, you've seen a lot of things during that period of time.
We've managed through quite a bit.
That's right.
Good,
and
bad,
and you don't have any gray in your hair.
Not
so
yet.
It must have been coming out all right. No, I'm just kidding you. But Brandt, it's near the end of the year, and of course our viewers probably want to know. And again, as we both mentioned in the last show, we really don't know what's happening with that tax thing, so that'll have a little bit of bearing as to what you do this year.
It will. I mean, you know, the tax rates absolutely direct the flow of money. I mean, there's no question about it. So if the government is taking more, then the government has more money to decide where they want to allocate those resources in our economy. You leave more of those resources in a private sector or in a free market system, then the free market determines the best use of where that capital should go. And that's been an ongoing debate for years and years. But in terms of year end, you know, we look at this and we start to try to think about how can we add incredible value to our clients and what's the best advice we can give. Interestingly, the tax piece or the tax component of this is obviously very, very important, but also we're beginning to see the Federal Reserve is on this pathway to normalize interest rates. They've also begun to unwind their balance sheet. You can't forget that from 2010 through 2014, the Federal Reserve used $4.5 trillion in new money to go out and sop up assets, financial assets and financial instruments, and they own all this stuff.
Right.
Most of it's subprime loans or mortgages or synthetic type financial securities, but a lot of it is treasuries as well. Well, when we say unwind the balance sheet, they're basically, what we mean by that is they're going to stop reinvesting that money as those loans mature or as those bonds mature. They're not going to reinvest them in the market. They're just going to retire them. So we begin to think about this from the standpoint of, okay, if the economy is beginning to pick up steam and we see the real rate of return really pushing through, that means higher interest rates. So if we do get tax reform at the individual level where more people in this country have a higher degree of discretionary income, combined with the fact that interest rates may be going higher, what does every family typically have in this country? And that's debt.
Yes.
Whether it's mortgages, first mortgages, home equity lines of credit, credit cards,
school debt,
terrible, all this type of stuff. And so we're big proponents, we're huge advocates of our clients and individuals managing their personal balance sheet. Just like any corporation, which you have to kind of look over your hand, so to speak, and go, okay, here are my assets, this is my liabilities, this is my cash flow. So if your cash flow is going up because your tax rates are lower, then let's begin to think about how to manage some of that debt, particularly interest sensitive debt, that we might see those debt service payments going up in future years and start thinking about paying off that debt. So there's a perfect balance, I think, between managing your household affairs with that extra income, but also taking care of your balance sheet and managing that debt side of the equation also. So this is a critical thing for us. This is what we're really honing in on, and I think with the corporate and individual tax situation, it's very important. Once we get a pretty good solid understanding, or there's a lot more color, a lot more visibility of how this is going to wind up. In other words, if this tax thing absolutely is done this year, which there's still a matter of weeks to decide, then we're going to know whether or not 2017 could be retroactive. If we get into the late first quarter of 18, then 2017 may not be in the picture with this. So it calls into question whether or not right here at the end of the year, I mean literally within the last week, do you want to start expensing a lot of things in a higher tax bracket, change your accounting methodology and shift your income into the 2018 tax year. So we're thinking through all of this. We're having, as we do our annual reviews with clients at the year end, we're having these conversations and really thinking about that. I think another derivative effect of corporate tax reform is interesting because a lot of studies have shown that 75% of corporate tax rates are funded by companies through wages. And when you look at what's going on in the labor market, the labor market is extremely tight. It's very, very tight, and we're just now seeing wage pressures. In other words, the competition for talent. So I think if corporations get this tax cut, get it done, and they have more cash to work with, I am absolutely convinced you're going to see a large portion of those savings go towards wages, and that's going to be a fantastic thing for the middle class.
Yeah, for two reasons. They're making more money, but they're also paying less tax on that money.
That's exactly right.
So bingo, it's a win-win all the way around.
That's right.
That's right. Great. Well, thank you so much. We're going to get you to come back because I got a couple of things about maybe some Medicare stuff and that we'll talk about.
Okay.
And just remember this, if you need some special information on any of your finances, it's McDonald Hagen Wealth Management, and we'll be right back right after this.